Hi, beautiful people. Today we are going to be talking about Gemini because today is the first day of Gemini season. And I hope you're really excited to learn a little bit of information. And I am so glad that you are here. Thank you guys so much for showing up. My name's Laura, and this is Purely Inspired Living. Okay, so today, May 21st, is the first day of Gemini season. So last night we said goodbye to Taurus, and it's, slow, stable, nurturing, and we're moving on to Gemini. And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. If you know anything about Mercury, you will know that Mercury is communication, it is learning, it's the mind, okay? The mind and the voice, all right? How we express ourselves and express our thoughts is all very Mercury and very much associated with Gemini. Since Mercury rules Gemini, they're very, very closely related. In later videos, I'll kind of explain the difference between the two, but just know if you know Mercury, then you know a lot about Gemini. And if you know a lot about Gemini, you know some stuff about Mercury too. So, okay, so Gemini season. First of all, it is so beautiful out, so I decided to come out and film in my side yard just because it's beautiful. Okay, so Gemini. When we are thinking about Gemini, we're thinking about the mind. We're thinking about learning new things. Gemini very much is about, I want to use the word expanding, but that's not correct. It's not really expanding the mind as much as just absorbing information. It's very much a go-getter when it comes to learning things. And it's also about communication, not just speaking, but listening as well. So Gemini is really about just how we think and express those thoughts. So that's how it's connected to both the mind and your throat chakra. So it's expression as well. But don't forget that listening is also very important because you can't learn if you don't listen, right? And you can't have good conversation with someone if you're not listening to their perspective or their side as well. So they're all related to Gemini. So today is May 21st. That's the first day of Gemini. Gemini season ends at summer solstice or Letha. If you follow the wheel of the year, again, it's ruled by Mercury. So some strengths of Gemini are obviously they are good communicators. All right. So a lot of people who have prominent Gemini placements are going to be journalists. They're going to be writers. They're going to be speakers. They could be YouTube video makers. I am not a Gemini, so that's not where I get it. But there's that. They're also known to have strong sense of humor and be really witty. They're very quick thinking because Mercury, again, being their ruler, Mercury is the fastest planet in our solar system. It revolves around the sun the fastest. So they tend to be very quick-minded, quick thinking, quick-witted. They tend to be funny. So an important feature of Gemini is it is a mutable sign. So mutable means that, there's cardinal, there's fixed, and there's mutable. Cardinal being like initiates, it's an initiating type of energy. Fixed energy can be thought of as stubborn, determined. That's the word we go with. Remember, as I referred into my new moon video, which I'll link that, determined, okay, very steadfast, all right, and then mutable is flexible. So Gemini is also very, very flexible. Since we are at the last zodiac sign before we hit the summer months, it's a mutable time of year. We never know if it's going to be hot, if it's going to be cold. It's flexible, right? So that Gemini energy is very much a flexible energy as well. Gemini energy is all about expressing and experiencing our mind space. All right, so that sounds very ethereal, the mind space. but it really just encompasses all things mind related. Again, the way we learn, the way we communicate, the way we listen, the way we express ourselves, that all comes from our thoughts and our perspectives, and that is Gemini. This season is about being mindful. So since the mind space is so important during Gemini season, being mindful is really important as well. It's important for us to focus on being mindful in the everyday moments so we can fully encompass that Gemini energy. I mentioned that it's our perceptions, right? Our perceptions are the way we perceive our environment, we perceive our communications, we perceive the world around us. So Gemini very much influences our perceptions, and our perceptions are our reality, right? If we really want to go like way down into it, the way we perceive the world ends up being our actual reality. So really focusing in on this Gemini, being mindful in the way we are perceiving. And if, we're perceiving a lot of negative stuff, by being mindful, it gives us the opportunity to kind of change those thoughts, to recognize that we don't enjoy being in that mind space, and we have the opportunity to change that. And then by changing our mind space, we get to change our reality, right? Which is one of the best parts about being human, is we have all of this thought that goes on, and we can adjust what we don't like. And it takes work, it's not easy, but it's one of the cool things that we get to do. With being mindful, so now's a really good time to think about the intentions that you have with your mind space, with the things you want to learn, with the things that you wish you could express better or express yourself more. Now's a really good time to think about those intentions. It's also a good time to practice meditation, so really slowing down that mind so you can focus on practicing mindfulness, on practicing being in the moment and recognizing your mind. So if you do a journal practice, maybe you could do a short meditation. I'm talking short, like I do like a 5-minute meditation because that's about all I can do. And if you're a Gemini and you've got that quick Mercury stuff, meditating for longer might be difficult for you. And if that's true, that's okay. If you can only sit down for 1 minute for 30 seconds and just be in that moment for 30 seconds, that's amazing. Take that opportunity to practice that and then journal about what comes up. And the more you practice through this Gemini season, the easier it will become. All right, finally, since Gemini is very strongly related to communication, it is important for us to really be focusing on the way we communicate, the information that we consume, so being mindful about what information we're feeding our mind space. If you're constantly reading up on the news, that can tend to have a really negative impact on how you feel and how your mind focuses on things. So just being aware that could be happening, especially right now. And being mindful of the way that you communicate, not just with others, but the way you communicate to yourself is very important. Remember, communication is both listening and speaking and thinking, especially when we're talking about ourselves. The way we communicate with ourselves usually is just thoughts, right? But focusing on how you communicate, not even just trying to change anything, just recognizing how communication happens, how you naturally communicate. If you've looked at your birth chart, which I showed you how to do in this video right here, if you have done that, then you can find where Gemini is in your chart, what kind of planets are there. That's going to give you insight into the style of your communication. And then once you know the style of your communication, you can start to recognize those communication patterns. So Gemini, as just a recap, is about learning. It's about communicating, both speaking and listening. And it's really about just focusing on what's going on in that mind space. now's a really good time to try to learn something new, to try to study something. I personally am going to be diving more into astrology and really touching back up on my understanding of that, because we're always learning, and Gemini season is such a good time to access that learning potential. Here's a couple of questions I've got for you. First of all, where is Gemini in your chart? Again, that's going to help you understand your personal communication style, your personal thought patterns, and your personal just general mind space, where you typically are. All right. And then what planets are there? Okay. So Gemini is usually ruled by Mercury, but in your birth chart, that doesn't mean that you have Mercury in Gemini. So in my natal chart, I actually have Jupiter in Gemini, which that's a thing. I actually really like it. I like that placement. It can be a difficult planetary interaction, but I like mine. So where is Gemini in your chart, and what planets are interacting there? And by reflecting on that can help you kind of understand what that means for you. But now is a perfect time to try to learn something new, to really think about, what information you're consuming and how you consume it. It's a great time to try meditation and just start small if that's all you can do, because if you can only do 15 seconds, it doesn't matter. Just try it. And it's also a good time to start journaling. Again, with communication, journaling is another form of communication. You're putting pen to paper, you're getting your thoughts out. That is expression. All right. So I hope you learned a little bit more about Gemini, and I'm so glad that we got to do this today. So until next time, I hope you stay inspired. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. If you're really enjoying this content, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm going to start putting out some more consistent information. And if there's someone that you know, do you know a Gemini? Do you know someone who's interested in astrology? Go ahead and share this with them so we can all start learning together. Thank you guys so much for being here today.